Hello folks, this is Sula speaking. You're listening to a video for Rogue Legacy 2. This is footage that is taken from my Mage Legacy playthrough. So this is a variant where I play through the game only using one class, in this case the Mage class. And what you're seeing here is the tail end of a playthrough on New Game plus difficulty, NG+2. And this is at the end of me playing through the dungeon. This character has been playing for about 2.5 hours and has cleared the entire dungeon with the exception of some of the bosses. So this is kind of going to be a boss rush video where I'm trying to take on the bosses to finish off the difficulty. This first one that you're going to see is the Axis Mundi boss, the Void Beast. However, this is the refight version, the prime version of the boss that you can only run into if you are on New Game plus or higher difficulty. It's one of the additional burdens that you can add to the game when you increase the difficulty. It has to be at least New Game plus, New Game +2, or else you won't see that. So the way that this fight gets more difficult is there's a couple of additional abilities that are added to the Void Beast. They have this cannonball attack that rains down from the sky. And more dangerously, when they land, they not only shoot out the little bones that they normally do, but they also create these little ghosties that track you around. And that is a much more dangerous ability because they will follow you around. All right, now the other trick to this fight is you want to take care and you want to make sure you're only killing one enemy at a time. Because you might have noticed when the first one of these bosses got low, the second boss popped up and what's this? We're going to get some more little skeleton minions here. And if you aren't careful and you just kind of hit targets willy-nilly, the entire board can get filled up with these enemies, which is not what you want. And then you can get into a situation where you're just drowning in enemies. And there's way too many projectiles on the screen to deal with at one point in time. So what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to kill the little minions. I'm not doing a great job of that. I'm actually taking way more hits than I should here. You will have noticed that, wow, that's pretty bad. Yeah, I actually stopped the game here for a second. It's like, all right, let's just pause, collect our thoughts for a second, try not to flub this somehow don't get hit here. There are some recovery items. The two little lanterns will have health recovery items in them. And I actually got lucky because the one on the right turned into a pizza, which restores more health than the normal meat drops. And that was just pure RNG, so I got a little bit lucky there. Killing the little skeleton minions, also you do get to benefit from lifesteal, and there's enough of them that can actually give you a little bit of extra health back. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm doing a great job with this fight. Again, I'm trying to kill first mate Byrith and not the other one. But this is, wow, as I said, this was not my finest fight here. But one thing that is good news is that this is a fight that gets easier as the battle goes along because you're removing targets from the board. And as I said, once you can get rid of one of the two big Void Beasts, it does get a lot easier. So just need like one more hit here. There we go. So now I'm down to just one of the two Void Beasts. And as I said, that does make things a lot easier. However, killing them does put more of the little skeleton minions on the board. So remember what I said about why it's important to try to minimize how many of these are on the field at once. You can easily end up in a situation where there's like 8 or 9 of them chasing after you at once. And then there's just so many projectiles, it's almost impossible to avoid taking damage. So as I said, I'm trying to kill these little minions. And yeah, at this point, it looks like I'm just going to die here because I have not been doing this battle very well at all. But fortunately, I'm able to focus on fewer targets, knock down these enemies. And by the way, the Mage class does have very good damage capacity. Offensive output of this class is excellent. Weaknesses of the class is it has no defense and it has low health. It has, I believe it's tied with a couple of other classes for the lowest health in the game. So I should talk a little bit more about the Mage class overall while we've got kind of a break in the action here. Well, I'm down to just the one of the two Void Beasts left over. So Mages, very interesting class. They are based around spellcasting. You want to pump the intelligence stat on Mages. You always have access to 2 spells. That's kind of the unique class ability on the Mage classes. They get a normal spell in the normal spell slot, and then in the talent slot, where other classes will get things like the Barbarian Shout or the Knight Shield, they get a second spell. I have not really found that second spell to be too useful, though, honestly. The second spell I have here is I think it's like the pool ball, magic 8 ball, something like that. And it deals very high damage if you can bounce it off something. So I guess technically I could try to bounce that off of like the deck of the ship and try to hit this boss with it. But I have mostly just used the Searing Shot, which is my favorite spell. And that's the one that I am actually forcing to appear on these mage characters. You can set it up so you can control what class and what spell will roll in between playthroughs. So I've mostly relied on the Searing Shot because you can aim it in any direction. It goes through walls, and it deals very, very good damage. Both the initial fireball deals good damage, and then the burn effect. It applies a burn effect that will tick 7 times. And then that burn effect will add a lot of additional damage. So if I can actually get a clean shot on these guys, I actually kind of rip through their health bars really quickly. It's more the fact that this class has no defensive abilities, so I'm very vulnerable. So yeah, things got a lot better the second half of the fight. That was a really sloppy first half of the fight, but then the second half went much better, and I was able to hang in there and defeat the rest of the skeleton minions. So that's the boss refight if you've never seen it before, with the 2 void beasts. So I've already defeated 3 of the estuaries, Lamech and Nama and Enoch, on previous playthroughs, and now I'm having to deal with the others. So as I said, mages are based around spellcasting. The spells deal damage based off the intelligence stat, which is what I'm pumping. Here I'm going to read very quickly the memories that unlock. I'm not stopping to read this because I've read them on previous playthroughs. I just want to get the damage bonus against the final boss from reading all of these. So there you see, 5% damage versus the Immortal King. Now there's a couple more bosses yet to go, so I'm going to head to the boss at the top of the Sun Tower, Estuary Irad. And this is a boss I have had some trouble with, particularly with the Mage class. I've actually done pretty well with this fight for some of the other classes. I think I've had a number of perfect fights with the Knight class and with the Duelist class, but Mage class not having any defensive abilities does make this a little bit trickier. So Irad is a big eyeball, or multiple big eyeballs, somewhat reminiscent of the Kadir fight from the original Rogue Legacy. And it's one of my favorite fights, even though I haven't always done a good job of playing this fight, just because it looks so cool. So there's an eye on either side of the chamber, and there's a bunch of different attacks that you do get like a little warning ahead of time as far as which attacks are coming out. But this fight looks visually really, really cool. So it's one of my favorite fights. All right, so a little bit more about the Mage class, just while we're watching this footage here. So mages, as I said, are based on spellcasting. One of the things that's innate to the Mage class is when you use your auto attack, you generate mana. Now that's not unique to the Mage class. All classes generate mana when they use their auto attack. But for mages, they have a siphon effect that you see that all those little mana indicators that are popping up, they will siphon additional mana back over time when they use their auto attack. Their auto attack also applies vulnerable status for the next few seconds, which causes your following spells to deal more damage. So the basic pattern is auto attack a couple times to gain mana and put vulnerable status on the enemy, followed by casting spells. Now for Irad, when he drops under half health, the third eyeball down at the bottom of the screen appears, and it has all the same attacks as the other 2 eyeballs, so that you can see what happens. The chamber just starts filling up with lots and lots of projectiles, and it's really hard to dodge all of them. It's almost impossible to dodge all of them if your class does not have some kind of defensive ability. So I'm doing my best here, and fortunately I was able to tank my way through the second half of the fight. I had found with some of the previous mages, I struggled with this battle a fair bit. It was just difficult to find time to get the spellcast off, because like when you attack and then use spells, there's like a short casting animation. It's not long, it's only like 2 or 3 tenths of a second. But I was having trouble just getting the spellcast off. Even that very short casting animation was causing me to take hits, and I kind of got better at finding the windows where I could get that off. It's like dodge the projectiles, land, wand auto attack plus spellcast instantly, and then go back to dodging again. And like there's just these very short breaks where you can kind of get this spellcast off. So of course I still took damage, but I was able to not tank too much damage. So that I could probably take about 10 hits and then I would die against that boss. So there is some margin for error, but not like a crazy margin for error. You'll note that I do get health back when I go into these boss doors. That is an upgrade you can get in the game. I'm currently getting 80% of my health back and 80% of my mana back when I go into a boss door. All right, so we're up against the final estuary here, Estuary Tubal, and this is another one that I've had a great deal of difficulty against. This boss has recently been changed in that his little minions that he spawns throughout the fight, they have an invulnerability period that lasts for about 7 or 8 seconds, and then when that wears off, the minions are very easy to kill. That was actually changed in a patch previously. Their invulnerability was much shorter, but then you had to hit them like 5 times to kill them. Now you only have to hit them like 1 time or 2 times, but the invulnerability window is longer. Basically, it was very easy to kill them before if you had a damage over time effect, like burning, as I have on this character, or poison or something, but it was very hard to kill the minions if you didn't have that. So they kind of evened it out a little bit. As for Tubal himself, his attacks aren't really that bad. He has some kind of big telegraphed attacks. I've actually gotten hit by a couple of these that I really should not have. But the thing that makes him hard is the minions that he summons, because you actually take more damage from the minions than you do from him. Or it's either more damage or it's like very close. So the minions are the tough part of this battle, just because they fill up the room with like all kinds of extra stuff. If you can kill his minions, he's actually not that difficult. His attacks are not really that hard. Like there's the bouncing floating ball that he summons that can be kind of annoying. And then he's going to put more stuff on the walls when he hits 1/3 HP. But like his attacks are not really that scary. He has like the big swing attack. He has the jumps on, put stuff on the floor. He has this one where daggers rain down from the ceiling. But as I said, Tubal himself, it's not really the problem. It's all the various minions he summons that cause issues. So we've got to dodge. Yeah, he puts those spiked wheels on the side of the arena. Still, it's mostly when his minions come out that the problems are, because like I'm kind of tearing through him without too much trouble right now. He also does have an awful lot of health. It's like right here, he's going to put stuff on the ground, so we just have to get up in the air. And up, this is the problem, he's going to summon more enemies. And he's going to summon the hammers this time, which can be a bit of a problem because they're going to summon their own, well not summon, but put their own little ghosties on the floor. And here I'm in real trouble because I'm trying to get to the left side of the arena and I wasn't able to do it. And they kind of have me cornered right now. And I was like, oh, this is bad. This is bad. This is bad. Now I'm on 1 hit. I'm on 128 health and he does 160 HP worth of damage. So if he hits me again right now, I will die. And that's going to be the end of it. So it's like, oh, gotta dodge this. Gotta dodge this. Oh, okay. Yeah, that was pretty close. He had like a wind projectile up on the top of the screen, and then there was the bouncing like spiked ball, and then he shot out those void projectiles, and there were the big gears right behind me, and I was like, oh, just barely managed to win this. Because if I die here, then that means I've got to run the whole dungeon again, and that's going to be at least 2 more hours clearing the entire dungeon. Because you really need to clear the dungeon, not just to bring back additional money for upgrades, but because you want to pick up the relics that you can find in the dungeon. You want to pick up the blessings of life, which increase your overall max HP. And that's a particularly big deal for this character. This character actually started out with 590 health. I am not making that up. This character started with 590, and I was able to get it up to 1700 something because I took about 7 or 8 blessings of life. And I also picked up the gnawed bone relic, which allows you to increase your max HP if you eat a meat item while you're already at max HP. So I was able to get all 3 stacks on that. As far as my other relic, I picked up Hector's Helm. This causes you to deal 20% more damage when you're under half health. And that's how I use my resolve on this particular playthrough. If you're wondering what I'm doing right now, I am trying to hit the remaining breakables that are saved up at the teleporters because I was hoping I could get a health recovery item, because right now my health is so low I won't even go up to full health by going into the boss door. I only get 80% of my max health back. Oh, by the way, right here I'm showing that yes, I did full clear the whole dungeon. Look at all those rooms. So yeah, as I said, it took about 2.5 hours to get through all those rooms. I have increased the size of the dungeon by turning up the burden of scale. You can see I actually have 14 burdens. I've added a lot more burdens than you actually need for New Game +2 difficulty, because I wanted to make the game more difficult. Again, there's more information on this whole playthrough in the Mage Legacy report, which I will link underneath this video. All right, so now we're getting into the final 2 bosses. This is Jonah, who is kind of a repeat of Johannes from the original Rogue Legacy. Slightly different name, but similar idea, kind of the traitor character. This is a really fun fight. I do not find it to be a difficult fight. Basically, he has a bunch of different weapon attacks. They're all different spells and abilities that you get as your character, which is really cool. So like this is the Ronin's ability. They're like, here's the bow version that the the ranger gets in this game, and there is the dash attack that you can get as one of the mage's alternate abilities. So it's just really cool that like they reuse these abilities and Jonah pulls them all out. That said, I generally don't find this to be a very difficult fight. It just takes time. Just takes time to cut through his health bar, and that's because these attacks tend to be pretty predictable. He will show you what he's going to do ahead of time, and then if you're used to the attack, you can usually dodge it. The other thing that's nice about this fight is Jonah does not Jonah does not cause damage if you hit him. By the way, very lucky not to get hit by those arrows right there. That was just dumb luck. So you can walk right through him and you won't take any damage. That is unlike almost all enemies in the game. There are a handful of enemies that are like that, but most of the enemies in this game, if you contact them, you take damage. Jonah apparently does not. Only his weapons deal damage. Touching him does not. So it actually makes the fight a lot easier, the fact that you can just walk right through him. So the attack that caused me the most problems, and I guess still does, is that pizza attack. But the big thing that I discovered, I think I was watching someone else play this game and I saw them do that, is that you can spin kick to break the pizza projectiles. Before I knew that, that was a really difficult attack because the pizzas are home-seeking. So if you didn't know that, yeah, you can spin kick to break them. So again, I'm pretty much just pelting Jonah with the wand auto attacks because, as mentioned, they generate mana and apply that vulnerable status, and then trying to cast. It does cost 50 mana to use the Searing Shot. Again, I'm not even going to attempt to use my alternate spell because I'm much more content to use the Fireballs over trying to use the Bouncing Cue Ball or Pool Ball or whatever that one is. Even though that one actually does do a tremendous amount of damage, if you can bounce it off something first, it does like 8 times damage, but it's kind of a very clunky spell to use. The Searing Shot does enough damage, I just have to actually hit him with it. Alright, so we're in the process of finishing this one off. The big thing in this fight was I needed to make sure that I limited how much damage I took so I would be able to get back to full for the next boss. Because if I was under like 300 health, I would not go back to full HP for the last boss. But fortunately, I win this fight without any real difficulty. I still have 1,000 health left. Again, that's not surprising. I've said that I don't really have difficulty with this particular boss fight. I find it to be, outside of maybe Lamek, this is one of the easier boss fights. I can't remember Jonah killing any of my characters in a very long time, not since I got used to learning his pattern. The Jonah refight is very difficult, though, but you have to be up to New Game +7 difficulty before you see that, and yeah. Or is it, it's New Game +7 difficulty before you get the Jonah refight. So that's not something we're going to see in this video. And in fact, you have to play through the game so many times that for my Class Legacy series, I am not playing through the game 8 times just to get up to the prime versions of the final bosses. Alright, so these are the photographs of all the past mages that I've played. You can see it's basically all mages except like 1 or 2 other classes that I just briefly retired. And now we're going to see the final boss here. So this is going to be Kane, the Immortal King. And this guy is a very fitting final boss. Again, very similar to the Fountain from the original Rogue Legacy. I think they consciously tried to reproduce that. The final room even looks very similar to that final room. So this guy has a whole bunch of different attacks. I believe he has 6 different attacks that he can use in kind of his light form. And then he has another 6 attacks that he can kind of use in his dark form. And the whole key to the battle is just recognizing what those attacks are and then being able to dodge them. So I'm actually doing pretty well thus far. He is not hitting me. I don't think he's hit me so far, yeah. It turns out that he could hit me 10 times in this battle, and if he hit me 11 times, he would kill me. But like so far, I'm doing great. He hasn't touched me at all, right up until that moment. But you can see some of the different attacks that he does. And like if you know what the attacks are, you can dodge them. But yeah, we only took 1 hit through the first part of the game, this phase, so very content with that so far. And then he's going to shoot out these heat-seeking fireballs. So when he goes to 3/4 health, he's going to switch from his light attacks to his dark attacks. This is the one I find to be the most difficult to avoid, the one where he shoots out kind of those Nama projectiles. And then this attack I just misrecognized. It's like similar to one of the attacks he does in the first part of the fight. This I just flubbed the dodging. You need to dodge off the projectiles and go up to the ceiling. So I'm not doing as well against his kind of dark attacks here. And then this time, I've got the fireballs. Yep, there we go. Gonna dodge that. And this one is one of the easier ones to avoid. He just shoots 2 void projectiles. It's generally not that hard. All right, so again, this one, can I manage to dodge this? Yes, even though I flubbed the jump initially. Here's going to be the 2 blue fireballs again. All right, there we go. And again, pretty good second half of this fight, but oof. This is the attack I have the most trouble with when he puts those Nama projectiles on the board. So yeah, I'm going to take another hit, and even though I think I played this fight reasonably well, you can see my health is just running out here. So it's like, yep, I just don't have very much health because I don't know if I even said this before. This character has the Clownanthropy trait, which gives you 30% less health. And that's on top of the Mage class, which already has lower health than normal. So my health is quite low for New Game plus difficulty. And here's this attack again. This is the one I have the most trouble dealing with. You have to, break the projectile and then dash through the void portion. So I'm on 1 hit. I have 41 health. I cannot get hit one more time again. Kane still has a lot of health, so I have to do this perfectly now. Again, 1 more hit means I have to rerun the entire dungeon again, which is at least 2 hours and probably 3 hours. I'm like, oh, come on. And, okay, managed to survive that one. Here comes the falling projectiles. All right, gonna dash around that. Now we're gonna get the 2 void projectiles. And fortunately, Kane's doing his easier attacks to dodge. This is gonna be the blue fireballs, okay. Gonna get through that. Now he's gonna shoot out all the flaming projectiles. Come on. One more hit. Up. Just gotta dodge this, and yes! Woo! That was not easy. I really did not think that I was going to be able to pull that one off. I was sure that I was dead. I was on 1 hit when Kane had like 1/3 of his health still left. But I think I dodged 8 of his abilities in a row without taking a hit, and I was very lucky that he stuck to some of his easiest abilities to dodge. But still, I want to give myself a little credit there. I was able to pull this off, even though I had the Clownanthropy trait and a Mage, so this character had way less health than I should have had. I should have had, like, I don't know, somewhere around 2,500 health, and that would have made the battle vastly easier. But one of the great... Oh, by the way, this is just the ending sequence that I'm going to play through here so you can see the ending. I do think that one of the cool things was I really did have to use everything on this playthrough. Like, literally everything. If I had found even 1 fewer Blessing of Life, I would not have been able to win out with this character. And I think I had, like, 8 different Blessings of Life or something crazy like that. One of the benefits of increasing the size of the dungeon is you have the chance to find more Blessings of Life. So I was able to, I needed every single one of them. I needed the gnawed bone in all 3 stacks. If I had only been able to get 2 stacks on the gnawed bone, I also would not have had enough health. And I really needed Hector's helm as well. Without that 20% extra damage, there's no way that I win that fight against Kane. So went down to 1 hit against Tubal, 1 hit against Kane. Just barely managed to clutch out both of those fights. And that's it. That's the end of New Game +2 difficulty. And that's what I've taken to be as the stopping point for this Class Legacy series. So I don't have to play any more mages, but wow, what a way for that class to go out as you watch the cute little animated sequence here. So what can I really say about the Mage class? It was a lot of fun to play this one. As I said, a lot of offense. You deal a lot of damage as a Mage. It's just the survivability is always the main question. When rolling a defensive spell in the utility slot, it definitely was easier, but like this character did not roll a defensive spell, so does make it a bit trickier when that's the case. It's a lot of fun to play. One of the more fun classes. I would suggest giving it a try. Try doing a dedicated intelligence-based build in this game if you haven't done that before. Playing like mages and chefs and astromancers. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So anyway, here is just the recollection of all of the different stuff that I killed. If you didn't get a sense of how big the dungeon was before, maybe this will give you a sense of how big the dungeon is when it's 30% larger with Burden of Scale turned up to maximum. Yeah, it just takes hours to get through this. It is so much bigger than in the original Rogue Legacy, but I always enjoy clearing the dungeon. It's a lot of the fun. And yeah, how many monsters did I kill? 700 something? Yeah, you can see why that would take a while, but hey, I'll take it. Anyway, thanks for watching this short video. I hope you enjoyed this peek at the Mage class. There's me screenshotting this. If you're interested in more details, I do have more stuff in my written report. Until next time then, take care, folks. Hope you have a great week. See you again soon.